Mankato.
Oh, that's right. Yep, sorry. Forgot about that.
In the meantime, the first thing about public speaking is be prepared, right? The second one is be adaptable. But so I'll stretch it a little bit, maybe tell you a little bit more than I planned on, but that's okay. But the other thing I like about public speaking is, maybe you guys have heard this before, but the front row of the room usually pays for the room. Your meals pay for the room. That middle section, and it was a good meal today, so I'm going to say tables 3, 4, and 5 pay for the meal. And those two in the back, they're the ones that pay for the speakers. So I like you guys. Thanks for coming. 2 full tables, that's awesome. Okay, very good. On behalf of,
We have music coming through.
that's the angels, they're singing for me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't know. There's a little bit, but. Well, on behalf of Dr. G. Pfeiffer, thank you for Bethany Lutheran College for having me today. I want to give you a little bit of update on what we're doing on campus and just in general, talk about our student activity and wellness center that we're planning. And but first of all, I just want to let you know that Bethany has got a lot of things going on, not just a building program. Our enrollment is up this year. I can talk about that a little bit in the presentation. 3rd straight year that we've had a record enrollment. And so we're pleased about that. And that brings on things like building programs. New majors and stuff that we brought on campus have filled our facilities. And so what we're looking to do is to increase some activity space for our students, not just for our athletes, but our student body in general. And so let's look at a few things here. Excuse me. By the way, my name is Bruce Gratz. I'm a Vice President of Institutional Advancement on campus. And our department is part of the lead for this program. And so they've been working on this for several years. I've been on campus. This is my 3rd year. And prior to that, I was a commercial banker here in town for many years. And so we're just glad to be on campus and help out any way I can. But in terms of our building program, we've had a multi-phase building plan on campus. This is actually step 2. The first step, back in 2006, we did a space study. And our immediate need at that point was classroom space, educational space. And from that study in 2006, we built Hunzi Hall, which is on campus. That's the last building project we had. It was completed in 2010. So it's been over 10 years since we've done something on campus in that way. And so we get to the point to say, why do we build and why do we do it now? Part of it is that increased enrollment that I talked to you about. We just need more space for our students. And so you can see here just some of the things on the monitors. That space study that we talked about in 2006 to our master building program. But now with the increased enrollment, our need is very strong. We need indoor space for our students to recreate and just to maintain their physical well-being as well. I don't know about you guys, but if you move to a new community or consider a move at any time, much like students do when they come to campus and pick a college for the next 4 years, they look and see what the amenities are. That's just our human nature, right? To see that that's available. Whether they plan to use it full-time or not, they want to be part of something that is growing and provides a good facility, not only for their education, but their own well-being. We also need some indoor space for our practice teams, for practices and such. We're coming up, and Don Westfall will tell you that we're coming up on the busiest time athletically in the year of a college campus, especially in Minnesota where it's cold. We lose all our outdoor space and everything gets pushed indoors. My son currently is on the baseball team. I was sharing with some folks at my table that last winter in January, he was getting up at 4:15 a.m., leaving the house at 4:30 to make it to the gym to 4:45 for practice. And that's what we need to do at this time, thanks to the good work and logistics of Don Westfeld and his team to get all those teams through the gymnasiums and still include some time for our students for intramurals and different things like that. Additional lounge and study space is another thing that we're short of on campus. The spaces that we have now, and I'll show you some figures here in a minute, they're made for a much smaller student body than what we have today. And then, of course, we want, like I already mentioned, facilities that are attractive for our prospective students, but we've also been always, we believe, good community partners and make our facilities available to the community when necessary. And this will help in that way as well. So the good folks that preceded me on campus came up with a 5-phase plan. And I'll talk about those 5 phases throughout my presentation. Here's a good example of,
Yeah, I'll get rid of that.
there you go.
Oh, but then
So here's a good example of the history behind the growth and what we've had for activity facilities on campus. Back in 1959, we had a student body of about 100 students. And we had 4 athletic teams, and we did not have a gymnasium. And so in the mid-50s, they sat down and put together their heads and built our first gymnasium. And it served us well. 35 years later, in the mid-90s, you can see that our student population was 3 times the size it was in 59-60. And our athletic teams have doubled. We no longer had 4, we had 8 athletic teams. Part of that growth comes from women's athletics too. That wasn't prominent probably in the 50s as much as it became later on. And then now today, you can see the extreme difference that we have 800 students on campus and 17 athletic teams. And they're all using 2 facilities, 2 gymnasiums. And so that's why that time is so tight, especially during the winter months, for students to just get around and be active. And so our plan is broken down into 5 phases. The first phase was to take our baseball field, which was on campus. Those of you that are familiar with the campus, the fields that were formerly owned by Loyola were purchased by Bethany College a number of years ago. We put a baseball field on there in the mid-80s. And the first part of our plan was to make more space on campus, and so baseball got the boot. I'll tell you personally, I was not in favor of that move. I was on the board, member of the Board of Regents at that time. I didn't think it was good to move the baseball program off campus, but of course the city has provided such a wonderful facility for us in the partnership with ISG Field, outside Franklin Rogers. ISG Field has been wonderful for us, and as you can see here, the athletes enjoy that immensely. The picture that you see in the lower left, that's the picture probably of this whole presentation that I appreciate the most. That shows that our signage gets to be put up at ISG Field during the months of March, April, and May of each year. So contractually, we have the right to do that. We put our stuff up before the Moondog stuff goes up. But all these student athletes that play on this field during the spring of the year, of course, West plays their home games there, Loyola plays their home games there, and then all the youth activities as well walk under the Bethany banner. And I know Coach Craig has said before, he generally likes to start his campus tours at the field with his prospective athletes. And he said many times he showed them the field and then they said, we're ready to sign up. They don't even want to go to campus. So we still take them to campus. That's a necessary part. But this is obviously a high-class facility that we would not have the ability to have something like this put together on campus of our own and fundraise for. And so we just appreciate everything that it provides. I know, Don, maybe you can help me out, but I'm going to say a very small percentage of the baseball games actually happen on the road. I know they're scheduled, so they're half on the road and half at home, but a lot of the spring weather that happens, they end up coming to Mankato because their field isn't ready, wherever that might be, especially the far northern Minnesota teams with Superior, UW Superior, Northland College. And so it's a great asset for us to have. So that was phase 1, was to move our baseball program to ISG Field. Phase 2 was to put artificial turf on our soccer field. And we actually moved our soccer field to the space where the baseball field was. So this is an aerial view of that. You can see that the new soccer field is in place already. If you haven't been by campus, I welcome you to do that. Take a drive down Marsh Street and you'll get a good view of the soccer field as it exists today. Our old soccer field was in the upper left-hand side of the screen there. That was the space where our soccer field was, and baseball is where the soccer field was, where the soccer field is today. This too is an artificial turf field, and it stretches our season for us. You can go deeper into the fall with inclement weather. You can get on it earlier in the spring. It's also a great facility, and it's enabled us to be partners to the schools in the area. I know both East and West have participated on the field, as have some of the area colleges. I believe MSU has practiced on the field, Gus Davis has played on the field. I believe we had some MIAC games that were there. And again, it was weather related, and they could get onto this field with the artificial surface where they couldn't, a grass surface. And so that's phase 2. And of course, the things that additionally were added were permanent bleachers. We didn't have those before. We've also got the communications and the crow's nest that's there. That helps our media arts and communication programs do their thing and tape and broadcast the games if we so choose. And so that's really a big plus as well. New stadium lighting, we got some additional parking during that process as well. Kind of working up for the next phase, which is phases 3 and 4. So initially we intended to do phase 3, which was to build the activity center, and phase 4, which would be the wellness center within the activity center. So as you look at the picture that's in front of you, the field house, the big white roof that you see is what we call our activity center. That's phase 3. And then on the forefront of that building is our wellness center. And so that's some space that I'll talk about here in a minute, but those are those 2 particular phases that we're talking about. This is a view from Marsh Street, the corner of Marsh and Division. So this is the facility that we broke ground for 2 weeks ago on Tuesday the 9th. And construction has already started. They've got a pretty good sized hole in the ground already, and a lot of gravel trucks coming in and out of the job site already. So if you do visit there, just kind of watch out for them. But you're more than welcome to drive by and take a look. As you look at the front of the building, the space to the left of the building would be designated for our fitness and wellness space. The space to the right, where you see more of the glass wall, that design is made to mirror the lanterns that are on Hunzy Hall across the street. There's a similar design to Hunzy Hall. Kind of ties this building into campus. It's our first building structure across Marsh Street, kind of off our main old campus. And so we wanted to tie that in as best we could. So inside that glass space on the right side of the front of the building is some student lounge space, some space for them to hang out, for them to study, to get to know each other better, and do everything that college students do. This space also has a dual purpose. We intend to use this for an alumni room. It would be have seating in a banquet style, much like we're doing today, for 50 to 100 people, depends how you seat the room. So that's something else that we kind of lacked on campus, to have a specific space for that. And so we will appreciate being able to have that in the future going forward. So as you come in the front door, that would be to the left. As you come into the door to the, or excuse me, that would be to the right. As you come into the front door to the left would be our fitness center. And that's depicted here in the architectural rendering. We really haven't, I don't think, settled on exactly what will go into the wellness center at this point in terms of machinery and workout stations and those kind of things. I do know that this space will just about triple the workout space that we already have on campus. And quite frankly, when we built the last facility in the North Gym, our student population was about 350, and now at 800, it's probably good that we've increased that size a little bit. So I'm looking forward to see how the final design and what goes into this room as well, but we know that it'll be popular. Also, we'll have locker rooms within the facility, both men's and women's. There'll be shared locker room space, soccer, men's and women's, track and field, cross country, men's and women's, and maybe a variety of other things, but we'll work the logistics out of that. As they come into different seasons, they can share that space depending on what season that is. And then this would be the field house portion or the activity center. Inside would be a 200 meter 6-lane track. The infield would be artificial turf. And so unlike maybe some field houses, you have a rubber or hard surface court on the infield. We already have hard surface courts in our gymnasiums. We're looking for more space for the students to recreate. And we can also use it that way in a multi-purpose, multi-function type style. People can be exercising or practicing on the track. There's netting involved in there that could go down. So you can use the infield and the track space simultaneously. And of course, our students can use that then all year long, even in the wintertime. Intramurals can happen all year long as well, as can our teams practice. There'll be batting cages in there for baseball, softball, and then space for track and field to do their field events as well. So really looking forward to that space. That space is about, for you guys that like the numbers, about 68,000 square feet. The wellness center on the front of the building will be about 16,000 square feet. And then once we've completed that, we're going to do the final phase, and that's to go back to the Ron Young Gymnasium. This gymnasium, of course, I said was built in 1959, right? And it still has the original floor. It still has original bleachers. Many of the locker room amenities are original as well. And so once we get this space open and available to do some work on it, then we intend to get into that facility and update that as well. This is our Ron Young Gymnasium for a guy that did a lot of good things in this gymnasium. If you look over on the left side, there's bleachers way at the end by the door. I'm hoping they're gonna put a little plaque on the new bleachers that'll have my name on it, because that's where Ron had me sitting on the bench. We'll see how that goes, I don't know. So here's where we're at with the project. Phases 1 and 2 are done, right? And so we're working on phases 3 and 4, which is our activity center and wellness center. Excuse me. Our Board of Regents and trustees have approved to move forward with the construction. We had groundbreaking 2 weeks ago. And of course, we developed a funding plan to move forward with both of those phases. We are doing a public campaign right now to help backfill some of the funding on this project. The reason we're doing phases 3 and 4 simultaneously is there's some cost savings to do those together. It's all one building eventually. And so rather than to bring the construction crews back to the site and set that up twice, we're getting a little savings out of that. The other piece of that is the cost of construction is, excuse me, as everyone knows, over the last year or two has gone up dramatically. And quite frankly, it's cheaper to borrow the money than it is to watch construction costs go up faster than it would cost us to borrow a little bit of money in the short run. But all the same, we still need to fundraise for that. So our public phase is going to happen over this year. Hopefully we'll have that facility done by February of 23, a little over a year from now, about 15 months away. And then the students will have that available for the spring semester. So, share with you just quickly here a little video of what they anticipate the facility will be. Here you see the overview, and that's the way it looks today. With the soccer field, phase 2 completed. And then of course they add with the magic of videography what the new facility would look like on that site. As you can see, the lantern feature that we talked about in the prominent corner facing campus, looking back across Marsh Street, and with an entrance in the middle of the building. As you go into the right will be that alumni room. And if you notice, it started to snow outside. It was raining earlier. That's Minnesota. It happens that quick, right? Again, as you go in the front door to the left, then would be the fitness area. and then a locker room space. And this again is just the architect's idea. Furnishings and such inside the locker room is yet to be determined. So. And then the activity space within the field house as well. And as you can see, there's curtains and things in there that would help separate some things out so more activities could happen at one time. Current view, and then the new facility added in. So. It's all I'm doing on time.
Oh, you're doing great.
Yeah, probably got a lot of time for good questions. How's that? But like we said, we think this facility fits in well with our purpose on campus. Our mission is always to do it's a twofold purpose. First, to engage our students in the gospel message of Jesus as their Savior, so that while they're on campus, they may grow stronger in their faith. We're a private institution, and we're not ashamed of that, of course, but at the same token, we want to make sure that our students understand that and know that. We do have this year 128 international students on campus. 6 years ago, there were 8. And so that portion of our campus has grown dramatically. But the neat thing about engaging them with that gospel message is a lot of these students don't know the true meaning of Christmas. And so just the little things like that we take for granted, they probably understand Black Friday more than they do what Christmas really stands for. So it's fun to share that message. And whether you know it or not, we do end up with a couple of baptisms each year on campus, 1 or 2. And we do have some adult information classes. These are all students that came to Bethany for other reasons than that. And so we think that's really good. The second piece of our twofold purpose is to equip our students with that knowledge and understanding and an adaptable skill set. We are a liberal arts college, and so we focus on a well-rounded piece of your education, not just the technical piece that you came for. And we think that's highly important. So I always say it's that adaptable skill set. I came to Bethany from the banking world. My last stop was at First National Bank right on Madison Avenue. We used to hire a lot of Bethany students as tellers and new accounts people, backroom people. We had a receptionist a number of years ago. She came to us and she was a psychology major with a theater minor. And usually we get the econ majors and we get the business majors and those kind of things, right? But she ended up in our front chair as a receptionist. And so after she'd been there a month or so, I asked her, I said, how are things going? And she said, oh, I love it, it's great. And I said, well, how does a psychology major with a theater minor end up in a bank for a job? I said, you're not banker, you're material normally. And she was very humorous about it. She said, Bruce, I'm not a banker, I'm an actress, and I'm just playing the role of a banker. And I have a great time. I like sharing that story with them. Are there any questions? Yes, sir.
So the locker rooms, they're for the sports teams only, not for students when they come in there and work out?
Well, and so we'll have both, we'll have some changing rooms in there and we'll have locker rooms as well. Yeah, and so Don's gonna have to figure out a lot of that as it goes. We still have, what it does also, it frees up locker room space in the facility. So you've got 4 locker rooms, 5 locker rooms with 6 locker rooms with 17 teams now. Ron.
Can you talk a little bit about community use and also youth sports that convention?
Yeah, thank you. Sometimes I forget about that, so thanks for bringing that up. Absolutely. So we have worked with various youth sports groups in towns, whether it's a soccer association or football association, different things that may be likely candidates for using this. We have built this as a student use facility. We expanded initially our parking lot for the youth facility, then for what we need for minimum parking. It's not designed for a collegiate or high school competition facility, although it could be used for that. For instance, an indoor track meet could happen, but it's probably not going to be a multi-school track meet. For one, we don't have space in there for bleachers at the practice facility. And so we could have maybe a 1 or 2 school meet, maybe a 3 school meet if if the envelope gets pushed on the small school. How's that? Don's cringing as I talk about this. I'm the sales guy, he's the one that has to implement it, but then of course, there'll be plenty of time too as well, when our students aren't even on campus. Obviously all summer long, but of course in summer, everyone wants to be outside, but it's still Minnesota. We know we have inclement times, and so there'll be some time there. Our students also leave by mid-December, and they don't come back till the first week of January. And so there's some winter time there as well. And then there'll be we anticipate a lot of after school hours that may be available as well. Yeah, go ahead, Don.
No, then we can hear me. Actually, in the process of what we were going through, the construction phase and planning, we actually had a meeting with Mankato United, the Peppers, Royals. Dennis Hood was with the football program at the time. We've even talked to the Mankato lacrosse people. The MSU bubble has been a tremendous asset to campus, but quite frankly, we still need more indoor space, especially that concept of having the turf inside the track. Court space, I think if you talk to the basketball youth group, they still say they need more court space, and they do come on our campus and use our two gyms. But when you combine the need of our campus, whether it's the varsity teams, you add on intramurals and general student use, that's, as Bruce indicated, we for ourselves need more court space, we needed more turf. But all of those various user groups that we've met with have indicated to us that they would plan to meet with us and utilize that facility as well. So that's definitely part of the plan we put together. The usage plan, as Bruce indicated, there's about a month over the Christmas break is open, but then on weekends and Sundays, we actually right now envision opening the facility as early as 5:36 in the morning until 11 at night. So we're fully committed to the stance of as soon as we're able to take care of the needs of our students and our needs on the campus, whatever time still remains is going to be certainly available for groups. And as Bruce talked about with that netting component that's in there, we can actually break up the turf field into 3 different sessions. There's batting cages in there as well. So we think it's going to be a tremendous asset for you to use. And the groups, not just youth, but we can add some of the, adult softball people. The only group we haven't heard from yet is some of the golfers. I think they'd like to get in there too, but we're a little hesitant about them trying turning that into a driving range. We'll think about that one now.
Yes, sir.
Bethany's had some pretty phenomenal growth in the last several decades. What about the expansion of classroom space?
And that's when the space in 2006 went through. I believe our space on campus is 1,200, I think is the number. Is it 1,100? Okay, thank you, Don. I've got an auditor here today, but so we have 651 full-time students today, 800 total students, so as that incrementally grows, we feel that we're in good shape in that area for a while. Yeah. The next phase on the master building plan would be to improve our fine arts space, make more space for that by design. Yeah, Jim.
I just wanted to take advantage of the situation with Bruce here and with Don and with President Pfeiffer, to let you all know, if you don't know it already, that Bethany is a partner of ours. When we do the Thunder of Drums, Bethany is always the place that those bands want to stay. And Bethany has given us a place to stay ever since I've been the housing director. It's not easy to find places for 300 kids to stay. I think it might be even tougher this coming year. But I just want to thank Bethany for what they've done for the Thunder of Drums to help on.
Bruce, is Bethany still a 2-year college or a 4-year college?
Thank you. Yes, Bethany is a 4-year baccalaureate degree institution. We just opened this fall. That's a different presentation I have, but I'll go into that. Thank you for the lead. We do have our first master's program. It's in clinical mental health counseling from a Christian perspective, of course, on our campus. But that's our first toe in the water for a master's program. But Bethany got a start, and the college itself was on the hill and started in 1911. Our synod of the Lutheran, Evangelical Lutheran Synod purchased the college in 1926. And so at that point, it was a high school and junior college. And until 1969, I believe it was, then the high school was discontinued, and it was a junior college for a number of years until 2000, when we became a four-year program. And each year we've added additional majors. We now have 27 majors and 25 minors on campus, and 7 pre-professional programs as well. Had a gentleman from Arizona talk to me last spring. He said, "I'd sure like to send my daughter up," but he says she wants to be a veterinarian. I don't think Bethany has a veterinary program. And I said, "We do have a pre-veterinary program." He wasn't aware of that. So I think we'll get another one out in Arizona area following that conversation, but those are the main things there. So, and we continue to add new ones as well. Last year we had Spanish major and Fine Arts Administration. And I think it was recently approved by the Board of Regents to add criminal justice as well. So, yep.
What percentage of your student body are not a part of your synod or Lutheran?
Yeah, thank you. That's a very good question. Thanks for. And so our particular church body, actually very small, about 10% of the population on campus is from our particular church body. I would say I'm from a confessional Lutheran basis. That's several synods that are similar to ours, about 38%. And yeah, so there's a large mix on campus. In fact, our diversity amongst liberal arts colleges is number 6 in the nation. And so we do have a very diverse group of individuals on campus. Yes, sir.
I noticed that the total of the project publication is $14.8 million. Where do you stand on that?
And so I did have a slide up. Right now, the current portion that we're building, phases 3 and 4, total of that project is about $17 million. The booklets that you have on the table are correct in general purposes. The architectural design has changed a couple times. Those were printed, I believe, in 2018. And so that number has changed. You can see how the inflation of construction costs has changed. And that version also included a much bigger wellness center. We've had to back down the size of the wellness center a little bit just to keep costs in check. Originally, that wellness center was 2 stories.
In terms of the final figure, where are you in your raising?
Oh, and raising money, thank you. So in general, we have enough money set aside to build phase 3. We're still working on phase 4. So we've got about 11 million of that 17. In general. Fair question. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yes,
sir.
I thought Don was a natural salesman when he did it, said he wasn't a salesman. That was a pretty good hit. And one other comment, I think I said add a couple timeline photos of Ron Young as he was hammering nails building that gymnasium. That would be very cool. Sorry.
A lot of people have good memories in the gymnasium. Ron was my coach. I don't have those same great memories. Some good ones, but not all.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
I'm just kind of curious to know, Ron, the gym still has some original equipment. How are you doing on original equipment? Okay, all right, well, thank you, Bruce. That was a great presentation. You did a great job filling it all. I couldn't tell the filler at all. So it seemed like it was all really good stuff. And as a reminder, let's see, next week we have Mary Wichtendahl and Glenda Bechtold from Vine's Caregiver Month. They'll be doing a presentation about caregiving. So if you know some people who are interested in that subject, please invite them along. I'd like to welcome Keith for being here today, as well as Mary for the Ron Young roast. That was nice of you to be here for that. And let's see, hopefully we'll keep you informed when we can get Esperanza here for her Student of the Month. She better be good. And if you'd like to join me now in When Kiwanis Calls. When Kiwanis calls, when Kiwanis calls, let everyone stand up. When Kiwanis John, am I ringing that bell right at the end? Thank you.
Question, is Kyle still sending out meeting notices?
Yes.
I'm not getting
Oh,
mine.
really?
So you want my, here, just take my card and I haven't changed my email either.
Okay.